Hello everyone, I'm Krasi Attasio. Today I will talk about the real dates of the solstices and the equinoxes. There are previous videos on my channel where I was explaining about the precession of the equinoxes. But now in a very simple manner, I will try to clarify for you when is the real date of the solstices and the equinoxes for our era, and how to find it yourself so that you benefit from this timing. Because in the media, in the mainstream astrology, there is this scam which is about the fake timings of the solstices and the equinoxes, so that you cannot benefit from the most powerful timings of the year. And how can you benefit? Well, of course, the energies are so powerful on these 4 days in the year: the vernal equinox, the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the autumn equinox, and the winter solstice. And these 4 days are very, very particular, very powerful. When, if you address the universe, your wishes most probably will come true also during these days, especially if we talk about the vernal equinox, the summer equinox. If we gather our herbs, they have magical powers. The very same is valid for the summer solstice, because during the summer solstice, 10 days before and 10 days after, or especially in particular during the day of the summer solstice, if you collect your herbs, those that are have their powers in the summer, then they will also have magical powers. And of course, the mainstream media would not like you to know this, but the ancient rules are different. And the ancients were conscious about the precession of the equinoxes of the earth. And the ancients knew which are the most powerful days, and they would celebrate those days. This would be the holiest and the most beautiful and powerful days when the gods would descend to celebrate. Why? Because the energies would be so powerful. So I will show you, because I want to convince you that what the mainstream media or astrology is trying to sell you is not correct. So I will show you an image, astronomical image, and I will tell you how to approach this issue, how to make use of it, and not to fall into the trap of the massive information. So I'm sharing my screen with you. I have a beautiful, very beautiful astronomical image, and very clear. I will try to explain it also in a very, very clear way to you. So look how simple it is. This is the Earth. The Earth is divided into 2 halves. You have the north part and you have the southern part. And this particular line here, which is dividing the Earth into 2 halves, is the Earth equator. We all know about the equator. But this equator has projection of unlimited size. And this projection, which is projected towards the celestial sphere, the sky sphere around us, is called celestial equator. Actually, the Earth equator's projection is of the same size but unlimited value, and this is the celestial equator. So this is the Earth equator, and this here is the celestial equator. And you know that the Earth is tilted. The Earth is rotating around own axis, but the Earth is not just standing on one very same straight position, but it's a little bit tilted, and it's tilted. The degree is 23.5 degrees, the position of the Earth. And this here is where actually this is the North Pole, and this is the North Ecliptic Pole, and here we have this 23.5 degrees, which are illustrating the position of the Earth tilted in 23.5 degrees. So then, of course, this is the route, the path of the sun, which is called ecliptic. This is the path of the sun. So you see, this here is the celestial equator, projection of the Earth equator, and here is the path of the sun. The sun is rotating 1 degree per day, 360 days, he makes one full rotation. And there is this particular moment, there are two moments in the year when the sun is crossing the celestial equator. And this point here is the vernal equinox. It is the autumn equinox. Equinox because the day and the night have the same value. And then continuing the cycle, there will be the autumn equinox when in another 90 days, the Earth will be crossing again the celestial equator, and you have the autumn equinox. But what is happening in the meantime? In the meantime, after the vernal equinox here, see, of course, the Earth continues its path. And then the sun continue. Here is this is the path of the sun. Who actually not the Earth? This is the path of the sun. Of course, the Earth is also having own path around own axis. But when the Earth and the celestial equator and the sun and the sun's path, the ecliptic of the sun, are crossed, at that particular moment we said we're having the vernal equinox. But what is happening afterwards? The sun continues its path, and in another 45 days, the sun reaches greatest distance from the celestial equator. Here, reaches greatest distance from the celestial equator. And this is another 45 days when you're having the summer solstice. Of course, summer solstice for the northern hemisphere, winter solstice for the south hemisphere, of course, because this particular part will be influenced by the sun, and here we will have the summer, and here we will have winter, and then the other way around. Then the sun continues another 45 days and is reaching again the point of the autumn equinox, then another 45 days, reaching the longest, greatest distance from the celestial equator, and is reaching the southern hemisphere, when here you're going to have summer, and here on the northern hemisphere people are going to have winter. This is just to illustrate you how this is happening, but most important, in which points this is happening. The vernal equinox on the sky astronomically is happening approximately for our era in the 4th degrees of Pisces. What is the motion here? In how long it takes for this particular, for the points of the equinoxes to move? It takes approximately 2,100 years, because one complete rotation of the Earth around its axis is 25,000 years, and when we divide it by the 12th astrological signs, we end up that the point of the equinox astronomically and also astrologically is staying in one sign for approximately 2,100 years. Therefore, and also we know that this motion is happening in the opposite direction of the signs, of the zodiacal signs. So if the signs would move this direction, the direction of the equinoxes is just the other way around, against the direction of the signs. So right now, the vernal equinox is happening in the 4th degrees of Pisces, and exactly in opposition is the autumn equinox, which is happening in the 4th degrees approximately of Virgo. But of course, this will be reversed according to the hemisphere. For the north, it will be vernal, and then for the south will be autumn, and the other way around. They are, of course, reversed. You have to take this into consideration. And these dates are approximate. You cannot say, like always you hear from the mainstream media, 21st of June, we have the summer. And then 21st of March, no, this is a simplified matter, and it doesn't work that way. And let me share another screen with you, just a very basic, randomly chosen horoscope. Just a second. Okay, I have a chart here to show you. Now look at my chart. We know that the vernal equinox for our era, actually vernal equinox Pisces, yes. The vernal equinox for our era is happening for now in 4.57 degrees Pisces. And here, just in opposition, you have the 4.57 degrees Virgo for the autumn equinox. Then the sun is traveling another 45 days to reach exactly the same degrees of Gemini and to reach the degrees of 4.57 degrees Gemini when you're having the summer solstice for the northern hemisphere, or for the southern hemisphere, it will be winter at that particular time. And then the sun travels another 45 days, reaches the autumn equinox, and another 45 days to reach the winter solstice, when the sun is in the 4 degrees 57 minutes Sagittarius. But how to know when are these days have taken place? Very simple. The Sumerians would calculate these days when they would see there are the two cultures, the Sumerians and the Akkadians, the Babylonians would have different approach, and I will give you the two approaches. I personally stick to the oldest approach of the Sumerians, but of course the Babylonian approach is absolutely valid as well. So when you want to see when is exactly the day of the vernal equinox, you need to see the appearance of the first lunar crescent before the sun enters the point of the equinox. Like you would wait to see, this is the sun. Before the sun enters the vernal equinox, the sun will be in Aquarius, and you wait to see on your western horizon in the evening the appearance of the first lunar crescent, and this will be the day. And now for our this month in June, July, it is not that the vernal equinox is in the 21st of June. This is absolutely not true. This is seasonal simplification, tropical approach, which is ignorant and not correct. According to the Sumerians, you would wait until the sun is somewhere in Taurus, and then you wait for the first lunar crescent to appear on west, and then you have the summer solstice day, the most powerful day for the summer. But because we missed this day, and because the Akkadians were also great, very knowledgeable, astronomically, medically, mathematically amazing, scientifically informed culture, the Akkadians, the Babylonians, would have another approach, which would be the following. They would wait until the sun enters the point of the the solstice point, or the vernal equinox point, and they would wait for the first lunar crescent to appear. And let me show you what is happening now. Right now, this is the chart of the I think the date is 2nd of July, when we are going to have the eclipse. And I have separate analysis on the eclipse, you may like to look at it. But what is happening? You are having the conjunction of moon and sun, exact conjunction, and this is the eclipse, and this is the date of the 2nd of July. Then on the 3rd of July, the moon is not showing up, and the sun is already in the sign of the summer solstice. But on the 4th of July, the moon is going to show in the 16 degrees Cancer, and this is the first lunar crescent after the sun is in the sign where you have the summer solstice sign. And this day is going to be 4th of July, and this is the day of the summer solstice. And there is no other day to be pointed to be solstice day. The same is valid for the vernal equinox, the very same is valid for the autumn equinox and for the winter solstice. And remember, they're reversed for the different hemispheres. So if for us on the 4th of July, we're going to have Summer solstice, of course, for the southern hemisphere, they're going to have at that very same day, winter solstice day. Again, another very powerful day. What the ancients did, of course, they would have this the knowledge, and they would celebrate two festivals. One would be the equinox, because they would give more attention and emphasis on the day when the sun's ecliptic would intersect the celestial equator, and they would pay more attention to the vernal equinox, and then they would celebrate the festival of Akitu festival, the holy festival when the gods would descend. And then you would have another Akitu festival only on the equinoxes, when the sun would intersect again the celestial equator. And then here, this is the point, 4°57' of Virgo, and at this particular day, it will be the second time when they're going to celebrate the Akitu festival. And you can see even this very clearly mentioned in the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is epic that is dated, like, I think, to 2300 BC. So it is a very important and serious notion, and without knowing about the real motion of the sky and earth, about the points of the equinoxes, we can not really help ourselves so much, especially when we want to connect with the sky. We want to place our wishes to the universe. So now is the time. Wait until the sun appears. Unfortunately, the sun will appear after, the lunar crescent will appear for the first time on the western horizon after eclipse. So this is not very harmonious month, of course, and I would probably skip. I would not place my wishes after eclipse has just taken place. I would wait for the autumn equinox and do the same. Wait until the sun sidereally enters Virgo, and then wait for the 3 days invisibility between the sun and the moon, and then see when the moon is going to show up on the western horizon in the autumn, and this will be the day of your autumn equinox. Powerful day to connect with them, with the cosmos, with the universe, to place your wishes, to do your herbal rituals if you want, anything that your intuition is leading you to. So thank you very much. This was my, I hope, informative analysis. Your comments are very welcome.